Yeah. Or can you go action?
Action. I think we're good. Let's see.
Get add that to your resume, Jordan.
Director?
That's it, buddy. To a sequel. It's number 2.
Exactly. All right, I think we're good, guys.
All right, real. Director Billy, would you like to lead us in prayer? Before you write, please. Hats. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us all together here. Give us the wisdom to make good decisions and to make the right decision. In your good name, amen.
Amen.
Follow me in the prayer, or I mean the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Audio and video recorders are used for the meetings being live streamed. Need to approve the minutes and transcripts from the April 21st Holland Water System Board of Directors regular meeting.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion noted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of memberships. We have 269 new memberships. We have 245 canceled memberships and 1 transfer. 3.
Motion to approve the new memberships.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Probably need to change that to approve membership adjustments or approve new memberships, cancel memberships, and transfers. You said approve new memberships.
Oh, okay. Approval of the membership changes as presented.
Is that good?
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? None noted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Review of the April 20th or April 2020 financial statements. It's in your packet. Does anybody have any questions on the financial statements other than the glaring one at the bottom?
Yeah, that was my question, the glaring one.
Okay. And I would, the main reason it is because of the, well, the only reason it is, otherwise we'd have a profit for the month, but we had our annual pension contribution in the amount of $732,784. And of course that covers most of the year, but we're going to get into that a little later in the meeting. As a board member, I would like to suggest that maybe we have Barbara or the lady in accounting take at least our budgeted amount for the year and amortize that over all 12 months. So rather than having 1 month where we have a $430,000 loss, we can spread that out over the year because it truly should. That's more of a cash basis picture, and it would give us a better idea of what we're doing on a monthly basis if we did amortize it over the year.
Do you know, do we get a, I mean, is it a better thing to front load it in this sense in May to pay the full amount, or is it okay to pay it through the whole year?
I'm not saying that we should pay it over the year. I'm just saying that we should, for financial purposes, we should amortize it over the year. It's definitely better to make it in one lump sum because you get the benefit of the interest, and we do get the interest and projected earnings at the federal rate. So we get a lower payment if we make it all in one lump sum at the beginning of the year.
So you're just saying though, on the books, we're
On
gonna
the
take that
books.
and we're gonna divide it by 12.
Divided by 12, so we can see what a true reflection of our financial position is each month.
Gotcha. Oh, right, because this throws the numbers way out of whack.
That's right.
Okay.
And then next month, we won't have anything booked yet. It will be part of that.
Gotcha.
You know. Can we work on that, Barbara?
Yes, sir, we can do that.
Probably have. Is there any other questions on the financial statements as presented?
I move that we approve the month and year-end, year-to-date, April 2020 financial statements.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? None noted. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None noted. Motion carries. Visioneering experience or exercise, both, I guess. Would you like to go over that?
Just real quickly, after we met on the 25th, the next day I did make a report and gave it, sent it out. This is a copy of that very report. I think the key is that took the board's input and the 8 issues or concerns we had and turned them into some, what I thought were some decent objectives for the year, just to give some additional impetus to what we were trying to accomplish. I guess my only question is, I assume everybody's read those. Any problem with the way those were articulated, or I think they hit the mark, but otherwise I think that staff, acting CEO may want to see those just to understand where we're focused.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it was a good exercise and
Yeah.
it's something that we should do on an annual basis.
I just want to say thank you to Fred for the second year doing it. I think it was good for all the board members to get together and brainstorm. I think it was a good exercise. We appreciate it, Fred.
Well, I think one of the nice things about it, it's team building in the sense that we realize we have a lot more in common than we sometimes feel like we do when we're at odds with each other.
Yeah.
Really came to grips with, hey, what's important for our company this year? And on an annual basis, we ought to be looking at that. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, do we need to approve this, or was it basically approved by consent last when we did the visioning?
It was just approved by consent at the visioning exercise. I don't think this is something that requires a board action. It just shows what the board thinks and the direction that we would like to be going in for staff. We did have, under the next item, educational assistance. We have an employee that's working on their degree and they're asking for, they've requested tuition reimbursement per policy, so I want to let everybody know we're moving forward with that.
And that's in the employee handbook?
Yes, it's in the employee handbook, and we changed it to where the board doesn't vote on that anymore. It was a regular policy, but in the past, up until, I'm gonna say a year ago, year and a half ago, the board voted every time, even though it was a given.
Policy, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, great.
Now,
I don't know, is it appropriate to know who that was and what they're achieving or whatever? I mean, I think we ought to applaud them for that.
yeah, I don't know, I didn't ask her, if we could do that, so I would need to.
Yeah, well, again, any employee that's out there seeking to better themselves and make them a better employee for us, so anytime we can support them with reimbursement is important.
That's it. That's what I believe also. Now, back to the pension. 2020 budget amendment for additional defined benefit plan funding. We discussed a little bit of this in the past, over the past month and a half, I guess it was. And I didn't realize, but evidently last year we just paid the minimum amount, which wasn't the minimum amount. So we were $49,128 short for 2019 minimum required contributions. In addition, we were short $51,210 on our 2020 plan based on our budget. It's not something that we can vote to not pay. It's required by ERISA and the IRS and the federal government. But since it is in excess of our budget, we do need to make a motion to pay it.
Motion to approve the budget amendment as presented.
Second.
So we're voting on,
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
what is it you're asking for?
Okay, for our 2020 plan, our minimum required contribution was
For the retirement?
was $772,253 for 2020. That was our minimum required contribution. The budget that we had for last year had $732,784 budgeted for that amount, which is what we paid. But that leaves us $51,210 short. Now, for 2019, we were short $149,128. It's the, if you go to the tab, first page.
And, Mr. President, we're not making these numbers up. These are the numbers that are given
These
to us
are-
by the actuary.
That's right, these are the numbers from the actuary, JH Benefits Limited.
Yes.
And there's a large report in here that explains everything, why it works the way it does.
President, if you don't have the answer, that's fine, but how come our math was off when they estimated what we're gonna have to pay each year in? I mean, is there, what contributes to that?
You get it's my understanding that you get whenever they calculate it, like they calculated our 2020 contribution, that's supposed to be what we make. They calculated in January, and they also calculated at the end of the year. In January, they estimate what it should be, and in December, they figure out what the actual number would be based on earnings from the account during the year.
Okay, that's, okay, thank you.
So, back in February, we talked about something 131,000, adding 131,000 or 161.
They gave, I believe Barbara can answer this a little better than I can.
I know there's an email about it.
Yeah, but they gave us some different numbers.
And now they're trying to get how much?
Right now, they're saying the total amount that we need to pay is $203,814.
They're confused on how it keeps going up. It was 161 in February.
I agree, and that's why I'm going to
Go ahead, Barbara.
Okay, originally, the budget amendment was 108,000. That was in February or March, something like that, 108,000. Well, that was only an estimate. When we got the final numbers in, and that was also the estimate for the quarterly payments throughout the entire year. Since we paid some off early, the 732,000 early, that reduced a lot of the interest that we were not having to pay or be accrued over the year. So that reduced it all back down to 51,210. So instead of the 108 that we were asking for earlier, now it's only 51,210 because we paid the 732 early.
But it's still doubled since February, almost doubled since February.
Well, no, the 149, 128 was for the 2019. We didn't have those numbers then. The 108 was only for the 2020 contribution.
Do you know why, Barbara, this is Daryl, do you know why we were short by $149,000 in 2019? Or is that just the end of year calculation?
That's the end of the year. Again, these are only estimates. When we get the actual numbers at the end of the year and they run those calculations, is when we'll get the final numbers.
Okay,
So are we gonna have another number at the end of this year to them, Barbara, we may have to contribute more?
I do not expect any more this year, maybe this time next year for the 2020 actual. Again, these are only minimum contributions, minimum estimated contributions.
Thank you.
Figure right, it's still what, 12%, 13% increase in the actual contribution amount? It's an additional 13%. I don't have a calculator in front of me.
Oh, you're talking about from the,
If we're adding 152 to a 772,
no, you're adding. Maybe I'll add this to last. You would add this to last year's contribution, and then compare it to last year's and this year's. Does that make sense?
it would make it worse.
Well, it would make last year's higher, which would make this year's increase less. Possibly, because I don't know the numbers.
and I guess, Mr. President, the question becomes, where are we pulling this out of the budget, right? So
Exactly.
where does that come from?
It's a $203,000 increase. And that's, what's that number, $1 million?
What?
It's $203,000 increase.
No, you're splitting years.
And I'm looking at the two.
Okay.
I'm just reading what I'm seeing. 978 to 203. 203,
Your 203 is 152 for 2019 and 51 for 2020.
And is it up for the board to decide where this comes from, or
Yes.
does Barbara have, or is it just coming out of the general fund?
It's not out of the general fund at this point, we need to decide where it's coming from.
Barbara's got a special box that she's gonna put this on, I think.
The little cookie jars where I'm looking.
She's gonna tap on it with her little fairy magic dust and make it happen.
I just assume we're just pulling this out of cash.
Yes.
Yes.
Out of our operating account, is that correct?
Yes.
The unrestricted?
Yeah, the unrestricted.
And just for future reference, so the portfolio has been moved into a more conservative stance. I've seen a bunch of sales, so it's no longer in a kind of balance, just more towards a conservative footing.
Okay. Any more discussion? No further discussion noted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President, I'd be more interested in, we have a pension committee, correct?
Yes.
I would be interested in being on that committee if that's allowable.
I think all board members should be on it if they would like to.
Yeah.
Most definitely, I'm not the chairman of that committee.
Usually whenever there's a pension meeting, any board member is more than welcome to come to,
Okay.
just so you know. I think Kevin, you're on that committee, or Kevin, I mean, Kevin can email you when there's a meeting, you guys can come.
That would be good. I think it's a good thing to wrap our head around.
We were at the last meeting with the portfolio meeting.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know, is anybody from Omni Commander on the phone line?
Anyone else?
They did say they wanted to come, Keith, didn't they?
I engaged them and they said that they were gonna either call in or come, so.
Okay.
I don't know.
They were supposed to come in and try and sell us on extending their contract.
Keith, when's that contract up?
June 1st is
Do we have to send them any notifications?
We've already done that.
We already did?
I did, yes.
So we're already square on that?
Yes.
How many, Torrin, do you know how many posts they've made on the Facebook account they said?
I think 2 to 3.
Yeah. And then, you need updates on that YouTube?
Not, so there was an Instagram account that they had played with, possibly creating a new account. I guess that there was one created over 5 years ago that no one has any account info for.
Okay.
I didn't see any communication that ever happened. And I didn't know if the contract stipulated if we keep the accounts that they created at the end of it or not.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
I don't think it mentions it at all.
Okay.
And I assume that we won't see any posts unless we're directing the service provider to provide what we want them to do.
Oh, okay.
That's how it's been. I don't know if there was some marketing aspect of the contract that was left out of that.
And when was the last time you had contact with them? Was in February, is that correct?
It was in February, to let them know that Rob was no longer with the company and that we needed to post a boil water notice.
Yeah.
And
Now, did they transfer passwords or anything like that to you as far as any accounts or anything?
they did not. I asked them to change the password credentials if he had access to it, but they didn't.
Get a reply?
They didn't offer. Well, they didn't speak to that aspect correctly. But yeah, so I assume that it's been changed and
Okay.
it's kind of
I guess ultimately as the CEO, if there's something that, like a message that you want to push out, that's where you engage a consulting company such as them. If we're not really wanting to push a message, then there will be no message.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
How long is the contract still?
I think it ends next month,
Uh,
July.
This, well, technically it's like May 30th. like
Okay.
May.
This-
Yeah.
We've already sent an non-renewal
Yeah, that
contract.
is correct.
So, We've sent a non-renewal.
Yeah.
of the contract.
I did, yes, James, I did.
I guess that's that. They never showed up to a meeting. Personnel meeting, Director Goulet.
All right, well, I want to inform everybody that we had a meeting and Kevin and Mike and I brainstormed, and I appreciate Kevin putting it all together as far as the finalizing the description. All that was sent to the board members for you guys to read it and to do a board action without a meeting, and from what I understand, that was 100% successful.
Yeah.
Kevin, I appreciate what you put into that for us. We were able to speak with Landrum on possibly providing us services for that. I know Mr. Lynchard and Kevin would like us to possibly go outside and get 3 other quotes total because of the fact of the cost of it, to do our due diligence. And I believe Daryl has the name of 2 other suitors that we could put this out. So my recommendation to the board would be to have the president send out those other 2 companies' criteria for a bid and get the bid back hopefully within the next couple of weeks so we can go ahead and select the company and start the search. Because I know if we solely go through Landrum, we will get a one set price. If we go through 3 different companies, we might get a different price. So I guess it's good to shop and see what the prices are.
One of the things that I was looking at was you have the option of an exclusive agreement, which is what Landrum would want. But you can also do a non-exclusive, where you can go out and hire anybody you want as far as a company. You hire 20 companies to do the search. And one that hits the fish is the payment. So we've got the option of broadcasting that way or keeping it more specific to Landrum and keeping it closer to in-house so that we have a little better control over that.
And like, my suggestion is have Mr. Lyncher contact those other two companies with the criteria and see what they give us back for feedback. They could come in at 50% less or 50% higher, we may know what we need to do with Landrum then as far as making them exclusive or allowing other companies to do the search for us also. Because, you know, my whole idea would be for a company to narrow it down to 3 selections and then do the background check, and then the board would have the interviews with those 3 selections, and the board would make a decision. That would be my suggestion.
Sounds good.
And Landrum gave the indication that they were willing to negotiate the rate down from what they had originally said, if we let them do it exclusively, because we already have an existing agreement with them for the employee.
And I know there's some stipulation of a guarantee in there also as far as a candidate, if they were able to select one. I don't know if that's norm for the industry or not, but I mean,
We'll find out.
we can find that out.
So, and it sounds like to me, one, we've all agreed on the CEO job description that we're ready to go with. 2, the possibility of getting professional services to find us the CEO. And then a third thing I don't know if we've discussed is, are we going to allow others to send in resumes straight to Automobile Water Systems, such as Barlow or whatever, or is an all search going through the professional?
I guess the last part of what you spoke about, I think what we need to do is research these other 2 companies, get feedback from them, and then decide from that, because
Oh, they would send it to them.
exactly, decide if we're gonna go through those 3 companies and allow them to make background decisions and stuff, so we don't have to do the footwork on that.
That's true.
And I think it would be best if we had a professional that was vetting everyone.
And my question was, Kevin, so where did you see that, the group part of where, what you said, like 20 different companies could do it?
Well, as far as whether, it all depends on the agreement that you have with each company. You know, if you sign an agreement where they're non-exclusive, then you can hire as many companies as you want to do that search. Where if you do it as an exclusive agreement, then you may get a better rate, but they're the only company that's advertising and putting it out there.
I mean, that's what I would think would be our best option. That way we get nationwide exposure versus maybe a regional exposure.
Well, I think right
They're
now,
pretty much nationwide.
Director Goulet's idea of, we need to shop around for 2 other,
That's what I'm saying.
Most
At least,
definitely.
to
you know,
get
not
pricing,
60,
to
20.
get bidding for 2 others,
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
That's where we're at right now.
Right.
Yeah, you should, whoever does that should look for, you know, whether or not, what their price is for exclusive and what their price is for non-exclusive.
You sound like a volunteer.
We'll cover that later in the meeting.
But to your point, Mike, you're concerned with there might be some out there that they're not in contact. They certainly could reach out. I mean, I guess it'd be known in the community who we're using.
That's
And
correct.
so that person could reach out to Lanham or whoever it might be.
Well, it'd be real easy for Torrin just to list on the website, we're using this company for this search,
There you go.
apply here, any questions, inquire here.
Good, this way we got everybody covered,
That's right.
everybody has a chance to put in and we'll get our best pool.
And they also then would get into the vetting process, is really what I think.
That's right, that's correct.
But I definitely like Kevin's idea of putting it in where it's not exclusive, and then we got 3 different companies working to do the work that we would be exclusive to one. I don't like the exclusive to one idea.
This is what we get back on the quotes. I understand if it's exclusive, if it's exclusive, they may charge us 10%. If it's non-exclusive, they may charge us 25%. So that's why I want to look at it. and
Yeah.
see.
So, is there any other questions on that? I appreciate everybody's work on this, I know it's taken a while, but we all got together, and like Fred said, we get together and get a lot of good stuff done. So I appreciate everybody's help on it.
Yeah, good job, Kevin.
Anything else for the betterment of Automobile Water Systems? Then we'll move on to the Club at Hidden Creek. Miss Cindy,
Yeah.
you're up.
Okay, so we'll start with the financials. We worked closed for 21 days due to the COVID virus. So our revenue is really low at $60,040. Our expenses were also down, but they were still $110,000, which was a loss for the month of April, right at $50,000. The good news is our 2020 revenue year to date for the course operating income is still in the positive at $26,889.
Cindy, were you able to get any of the, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Were you able to get any of the PPP money from the government to help along the offsetting of the, where you'll be able to benefit from that next month or the month after?
Yes, we did. We did receive a PPP loan.
Okay. And we'll be able to do, you'll be able to use the 75-25 up on the employees, because I know I'm having a hard time with my employee process of it, using the 75% basically because we don't have the staff nor the requirement for staff at the restaurant. So I
Yes,
don't know if-
we do still have our full staff.
Okay.
So we should be 75-25 correctly.
Okay. So that should make your April numbers significantly better. Let's see, no, wait, that'll make your May numbers look significantly better based off of your actual revenue versus expenses will come back. Am I correct on that?
It goes back to the cash
We
basis.
did I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Cindy.
Okay, at this time, we did record it as liability, and then once that 75% forgiveness is in there, we can call it revenue. So I don't know if it'll be May or July.
Okay. Yeah, that's the same thing we're doing now with our numbers. We're doing the same thing. Now, the federal government's working on making that a 24-week period rather than an 8-week period. That's in the works right now. Which, if that's the case, it'll give all of us a chance to use the money correctly. Did you see that?
Absolutely.
It'll just be better because instead of having to shove the money out to over an 8-week period, you'll have the time to spend it adequately on employees versus having to spend it all up front to meet the criteria.
Yeah.
Basically, paying them to sit there.
Mm-hmm. We still have to have employees that run the
No, but I'm
office.
saying you'll be paying them to do work. But the work is completed, you can keep them on that out.
Hey, Cindy, with the loss of
Yes.
revenue of 50,000, is that gonna, do you have any concerns in your budget or anything, or do you have your reserves to be able to handle all of this?
With the PPP loan, I do not have concerns. This included here as much as we thought we would while we were closed, so we should be fine.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the financials as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Cindy, could you explain the PPE loan, just the parameters of that? Is it truly a loan where you're gonna pay that back, or what happens?
I don't think the guidelines are completely defined yet, and that's what Mr. Dabney was saying. I believe if you spend 75% on labor and insurance, that part will be forgiven.
You're 100% correct on the guidelines for it right now. The 25% is forgiven as long as the 75% is spent on employee wages and earnings only.
That's correct.
So,
Okay.
Got it. I always look at it.
no, that's what it is.
What I was gonna say is, if you look at it, and it's kind of misleading with the PPP loan because it's gonna be an offset for our wages during I don't know exactly when that starts. I want to say it
Start
starts.
start the date you signed the PPP, the
The
one.
day you get.
Okay, the day you get the check, that's when it starts.
Yep.
Our payroll is just looking at this month, our payroll was $57,000. You add in, insurance on top of that, health insurance, and taxes. You're looking at in excess of $70,000 a month. So we're,
It's 3.5 times the number, so.
yeah,
If you got, what was your total loan, Cindy?
so we'll definitely cover the 75%.
What was the amount of the total loan, Cindy?
The loan was just over 150,000.
So yeah, if you did it, then you did. 3 times would be-
Just payroll alone will cover it.
Yeah.
She should be fine.
Oh,
So in a
sure.
perfect world, Fred, we won't have to pay it back and she can use it accordingly in a perfect world, but, you know, it's the government's.
But the problem is it's the 2-week, it's the 8-week period when you're coming in from restrictions on restaurants, golf courses, can't be open to 100%, so you can't have your entire staff, or you can't maintain your restaurant or business at 100% operational when they're trying to give you the money based off when you were doing it 100% occupational. You
Yeah.
can't make it work, it doesn't work, not in the restaurant business.
Not in the restaurant business, no.
It just does not work.
In
You
the
can't
golf course
have, you
business,
can't
yes.
have 50 employees when you're only over 25%. What are you gonna do with them? Stick them at a table and tell them to roll silverware?
Yeah. All right. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Planning for the future of Club at Hidden Creek. Brad, this is you.
All right, let me give you a copy of the motion about the, raise your hand. Huh?
I thought you were going to the podium when you got up.
No, I don't want any question of what we're saying. Hey, I'll give you two.
Thanks, Greg.
We have a window of opportunity. I feel like I need to make this motion. I move that the board tag the golf course committee, that's myself, Mr. Delay, and Mr. Kennedy, present a proposal for the sale of the club at Hidden Creek at our June 16th monthly board meeting. Furthermore, to ensure that the board's intentions for such sale are clear, the following minimum provisions must be included. First, that the minimum bid must be $1.9 million. Second, the buyer agrees that until the Eglin Rib project is operational, High Level Water System has the right to spray its effluent up to its authorized every daily limit. Third, that buyer agrees that once the Eglin Rib is operational, High Level Water System will be allowed to spray its effluent up to its authorized every day should the transmission system of the Eglin Rib fail. Finally, the buyer agrees to maintain the club at Hidden Creek property as a golf course in perpetuity. Pretty clear that this, that's my motion. I guess we got to get a second. Fail for a second.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I'll kick that one off.
Well, I guess if I make the motion, I get the first shot.
Oh, okay, well, go ahead. Just go.
All right. We're in position.
Okay.
I'm assuming, I mean, is that not
No,
right?
you're,
Is
Fred's
that
awesome,
accurate?
just keep rocking on.
Okay. Right now, we've got a profitable golf course, despite our setback last month. The course is in as good a shape as it's ever been. I hear every day from people, and it continues to get better because of Cindy and her staff, all those folks. I turn around this thing because if I were king for a day and I owned this company, we'd keep it as a community asset because I think there's a lot of reason to do that. But I don't think that's viable in the long term. Vis-a-vis the Tiger Point sale, we've got a comp right there in terms of the money that buyer is spending. They're being allowed to use it for effluent disposal. And as I understand it, the agreement is they keep the golf course as a golf course for that property for 100 years. I don't want a future board 2 years from now, when the RIB is operating, we think we're all good to go, and we decide, or that board then decides, hey, we don't need a golf course, and we're under the gun, we don't get a fair price for it or whatever. I believe this is a win-win for our company, I think for golfers and homeowners out at Hidden Creek as well as Holly by the Sea, and really a win for the Lamar community. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm probably pushing the envelope here, but I do want us to allow the committee to look at options and whatnot. This is what I propose.
Comment, or do you want to?
Yeah, just one thing that I would say, your second and third on here, as a board member, I want to change, I would agree with it if you changed it to second, the buyer agrees that Holly Navarre Water System will be allowed to spray its effluent up to its authorized average daily limit, period.
Yeah, and that's
Forever.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not delineate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so stupid,
yeah.
you're right.
Prior to Eglin or after Eglin, we are
Right.
going to retain our authorized daily limit, and we'll be able to.
And that was in the original, that was in the original
Correct.
purchase from back way when, because at the end of the day.
Exactly. He's collapsed 2 and 3 into one, and it's just,
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, we couldn't pump enough well water into that place, or you wouldn't be able to do enough well water to spray that field unless you didn't have good field.
Yeah.
Because I know when I worked at Tiger Point back in, 85, we had to have that. When we lost, the affluents went down, they had really put the golf course in the top.
let me just say, Mr. President, that, again, this is Fred Torres's written. I mean, I'm assuming the committee is going to pound this out with everyone's comments to, if it sees it further light of day. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, Director Teresa, we're talking about, the committee will come together, we'll talk about all of the different options, and then be able to present back to the board different options, and at that time, we will decide on the best option. Correct, Mr. Treasurer?
I'm amenable. I think, my mind, as I said before, if I was Kate for Dave, we'd never sell it.
So let me get this straight, so I'm on the same page here.
Yeah.
We're making a recommendation for the committee to meet, to come to some type of agreement that the board would agree with and vote on.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm getting out of this, Kevin? I mean,
Well, I mean, if the motion can be complete enough tonight, there would not be the need for the committee to massage it and bring it back. And, the closer we can move to the Tiger Point sale, the more accurate those numbers are for us. Like Fred was saying, if the golf course, or if the water department wants to own a golf course, then it's a dead deal. There's no need to even discuss it. But if we're looking at it from, it was done as a necessity, and that necessity is no longer paramount to the operation of the water system, then with the course being in good shape, with that previous sale being this close, and being able to guarantee, certain provisions in there, it's a win-win for the water department because we're no longer subsidizing the golf course. Plus, we're not having to worry about payroll and all that other stuff. So
the only concern I have with this juncture is I would want to make sure Holly by the Sea would have an option on this prior to putting it out to the general world to purchase a golf course, because it's going to impact and affect them most than anybody else.
It's not gonna, I would disagree on that, because at the end of the day, the covenants of the deeds and all that stuff, it has to be maintained as a golf course, it cannot be changed. There is very, very detailed, am I correct on this, Keith? There is very, very detailed information in that deed that stipulates that golf course can never be changed, bought, sold for any other purpose other than a golf course. So if they bought it and wanted to shut it down, now it's vacant land. it still has to be a golf course that receives Harnivore, because Harnivore Water has the spray rights in the deed to that property.
That is correct.
There's no other way. It can never be nothing more than a golf course. And the only reason I know that is when it was up for sale, we looked at it.
And Will, to answer your question about Holly by the Sea, I'm a little familiar with them, having been on their board and been active in a lot of their politics. In trying to change a few things in Holly by the Sea, if they were going to buy the golf course, they would have to do a special assessment. In order to do that special assessment, they would require 50% plus one of the membership of Holly by the Sea to be able to move forward. And the only time I have ever seen that many people agree in Holly by the Sea is when they're trying to get rid of a board member because their dues went up $20 a year. So in order to try and sell them on, a couple $1,000 for over several years, I don't believe there's going to be support in the community to move forward in that direction. So if we choose to go in that direction, then we're going to lose 3 months, because they're going to have that long to poll their membership in order to try and get that 50% plus one. So it's not to our advantage.
I'm just saying, from what I remember reading, it's always going to be a positive if you sell it to the right person. It can only be a positive because the deed is very well protected.
And I think, Mr. Bennett, that's possibly the reason for I think the committee should come together, because I haven't read the deed, and it would be nice to see.
Very, very detailed.
Yeah, it would be nice to understand all of that, and then, let's say if we do sell, right, do we need a realtor? Do we need an appraisal? Do we, the committee would come down, now you go into the details.
And do we need an attorney?
And do we need an attorney?
You have all that stuff in it.
I think first you
title
hire.
company.
Huh?
I think first.
Exactly.
But if it's not for sale, we can't get it.
Yeah, but if we're deciding, after this, then we're going to, put it up for sale to see if somebody's going to nibble.
Now, I guess to Kevin's point, the bottom line is, do we want to forever and a day be in the golf course business? Now, again, I said as a king for a day, only because I like the golf course, I like the idea. But from a business standpoint, from our company standpoint, we ought to take our opportunity when the irons,
The envisioning process when Mr. Walker and I got together on the golf course was to, 10 years down the road, was to possibly have Holly by the Sea purchase it from us or lease it from us, end game. That was the end game. And hopefully to get the Eggland project done, because that's when we basically started and that got kicked down the road. And now we're at the front door right now where the Eggland project is to go, which is awesome. And I'm happy the board and everybody involved was able to make that happen. Like I said, whatever the board feels, I would support the board's decision on it. I think, like Mr. Lynch was pointing out, that it needs to still be tied up as an option for a spray field if we ever need it, ever. That must be something in the contract, I definitely feel that is, and
I think it's in the deed anyway. You can't, it's already in the pre-existing deed.
but we want it, yeah.
Was it an amendment to the deed?
I just would want to make sure that we protect ourselves on that.
Hey, look, I would never thought that I'd be the guy presenting this proposal, okay, number one. Because I felt strong we should keep it for right to include always having a spray field. Well, if we can control it just like Golf Breeze they've got a spray field now, and they've got a golf course that's gonna be there for 100 years. Why not, if that was feasible for some buyer, I think our golf course, and I've played them both, I'm telling you, sorry Tiger Point, but we're the creme of the creme.
Question for you. I've heard vague numbers on Tiger Point. What did it end up saying? Who ended up selling it with itself?
As I understand, I don't know. I haven't done enough exploration.
Yeah, they
Well,
sold
the
it
city
for
of Gulf Breeze
sold it
owned
for
it.
$1.9 million.
1.9, as I understand it.
1.99999, it's $1 under $2 million. And the council, the city council, the Gulf Breeze, they voted to start negotiations.
So did they go back and did they purchase the West Course in addition?
I'm not sure how they
It's just
did all that up, because, you know, the driving range was bought and then the develop on that.
Drive range is destroyed.
Right, and so forth, but that, their
Well, they-
discussion was strictly to sell, I guess, the existing course, and I don't know what the other stuff was.
I wonder if they broke it up.
I think they did. I think they did sell a portion.
Three portions.
And that's another thing we can look at is the parameters there. That gives us not only a good comp, but also some of the basics from a standpoint of the legal aspects of the sale.
Well, I think with Eglin coming up, it's good to have an injection of cash, not having that
Thank you,
overhead. And, you know,
So from the motion that was made, Mr. Fred here has said, I move that the board task the golf course committee to present a proposal. So what your motion is for the committee to meet to get criteria for the board to approve. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah, I mean, you know,
And that's what Kevin
now, if we
said.
could move, if we want to move tonight, we're fine with it, but the original idea was for the three of us sit down, do our due diligence and come back to the board, so, you know, at the same time, the bottom line is, are we gonna be in the golf course business forever, or are we gonna take the opportunity now? We're right at the strike, iron's hot strike, I guess that's pretty my question.
Well, the biggest things we need to get with Keith and get the parameters of that deed.
Yeah.
Because like I
He
said,
has
I
the deed.
remember it vaguely, I don't remember every aspect of it, but I know, it was pretty detailed on the spray rights. It has to be maintained the golf course. Does not have an expiration date on it
One
either.
thing,
It has a volume amount for spray.
one thing that I would want to make sure of and get whoever the best person is to look at the contract. I think we paid, Polymar Water System paid $395,000 to purchase a perpetual spray rights to the golf course. And the reason we purchased it, the golf course, it was my understanding, was that we were afraid that those perpetual rights would expire if someone else acquired the golf course.
That's correct.
If we sell it this time, I want to make sure that that contract is drawn up, that deed is listed, that we have a perpetual right to spray on that golf course. No matter who owns it in the future, it's ours. We don't ever have to give it up.
And it sounds like, I mean, for the committee, right out, just on what we're talking about, we've got a sense that we're always going to be able to have the right to spray, and it will always stay a golf course, is the
and
parameters.
it would be nice to maintain a right of first refusal if whoever purchased it turned around and sold it in 5 years or 10 years or whatever. So that we could, you know, at least have the option
That
at
stands
that
commercial
time.
stuff, none of it.
That's something for the committee to work out, whenever they bring it back to the board.
Now, I'm concerned about the legal aspect, so do we have a recommendation on an attorney that we want to use?
I don't think we're at that stage right now.
Okay,
I
so
mean, I
come with a
think
proposal, then
Keith
we'll-
wants to work with the real estate or contract side of it. or-
That's probably, when you're dealing with a rule against perpetuities, you really need to get with somebody that knows, real estate
Yeah.
law.
All right.
I wouldn't feel comfortable dealing with, all that.
That'll work.
But I appreciate the,
But you can make a recommendation for us to,
Of course.
Kicker, I
None
would
of
think-
this has to happen before we have a buyer. Because the buyer may come in with an offer, and then at that point, these items would be added into that contract for sale, and then the items to be addressed and added to the deed at that point would be addressed. So I mean, it's not something that, we don't have to paint that box today. I mean, it can be,
Well, obviously,
Be done.
obviously, us talking about it today is gonna be out there in the
Yeah.
general public. So you may spark the potential of somebody looking to purchase that.
they'll beat the doors down.
I don't know about Golf Breeze, how
Maybe I
it's
should talk
approached
about
in the
something.
city, because it was for sale for quite a long time. But I'm sure that these parameters were part of common knowledge to people who were going to make an offer or whatever. And, I think they created a win-win. I think we can do the same for our company.
you know what, here's another thing you look at. I mean, some county commissioners are building huge parks in different areas of the county, maybe the county may be interested in purchasing the golf course. There you go.
It's a little part of the England fees.
There you go.
I know.
What fees?
So we have a motion and a second,
Yes.
and what do you vote? Okay.
I think the other thing was,
Second,
Mr.
third, we're gonna
President,
be-
who wanted to change a
Can
verbiage or?
we, actually, you know what, I would rather, can we change it, your motion? And
Just do
the
line item
motion,
one and
the
line item
first,
two.
the first sentence. I
Is
moved
that, make
it-
that the motion?
Yeah, make the first sentence the motion.
Okay, and I'm with you, because I thought about that, it'd be easy, but what I didn't want the community to think is, oh, some developers can come in and, you know, even though we believe they can't,
Yeah,
but I haven't seen that. So, with everybody understanding where Fred Teresa is going, and hopefully our committee goes, realizing there's some parameters that we've got to, let me restate my motion, abbreviate my motion.
all right.
I move that the board task the golf course committee present a proposal for the sale of the club at Hidden Creek at our June 16th monthly board meeting.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Fred, or when do you want to set the meeting to discuss this?
So not tomorrow, I'm gonna be in Louisiana.
Why don't you, when you can set up a meeting, set up a time we can meet on this and discuss it.
All right. I was gonna say, you two guys are working, but we'll get together, let's,
It's
meet
mostly on
just for
your
a moment
schedule.
after, we'll work together. Come sit here also.
We'll work with Will's schedule.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Something else gonna work when you get back.
We'll even give up some golf times to come and sit.
Appreciate it.
That's your week, come see you.
Thank you.
Does any board member have anything else to bring before the board?
Did y'all, I don't think
regarding the club
y'all
at Hidden
voted.
Creek?
For engineering.
You didn't vote.
Regarding the club at Hidden Creek?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Vote on that.
Yeah, I don't think it was, motion was entered, seconded, but nobody
Yeah,
voted.
You never
did.
did.
We voted, yeah.
Yeah.
We ju- I just want to say to Cindy and her staff, it is unbelievable out there. It's really a joy to go out and play, and what I love, every day, they've taken care of the coronavirus business. The course continues to look good. Just wonderful job there, Cindy. Pass it on to your staff. She's gone.
Moving to engineering, Phil, do you have a report for us?
Yeah, sure.
A very short report?
The updated reports are in your package, but there's two other activities we'd like to report on tonight. They're both related to the Eglin project, and if Darrell wants to input here, if we can. But the first thing we want to report on is the timeline and the progress for actually getting a project underway. We recently received the preliminary design report from Jacobs, or a draft thereof. That preliminary design report is kind of like a 10% design on the project, and it's the last task that they are being paid for directly by Santa Rosa County under their original contract. That preliminary design report is important to us because within that report, in addition to addressing all phases of that project with the county, it lays out the exact scope and a more defined cost estimate for what our phase one is. So we're working with them to make sure that phase one is what everyone needs, but that phase one doesn't include anything that we don't need, since we're going to be paying for and financing that project for a certain period of time, at least up into 10 years possibly. I wouldn't anticipate that, but it could be that long. So once that preliminary design report is made final, that will give us the scope and the cost estimate for Jacobs to provide the final proposal to Holland Bar Water System to design the project. And then, of course, after that comes construction. So that's kind of the first activity we wanted to report on. I would anticipate that preliminary design report being finalized probably by the next board meeting, certainly within the next few weeks. There's nothing really controversial or new in the report itself. The cost estimates right now, which again aren't completed, but are getting closer, are pretty much in line with what we've been envisioning all along. So that's activity number one. Activity number two is the grant funding by the Northwest Florida Water Management District. As you all know, they have expressed interest in this regional project, and they have said that there is the potential of perhaps $10 million over a 4-year period, the 4 years not being consecutive necessarily, but something on that order of magnitude. And they've indicated, and again, none of this is finalized, but they've indicated that phase one probably would be in line for about 2.5 billion of that 10 billion. Those are the rough numbers that have been discussed. The Water Management District is paying the Northwest Florida Planning Council to prepare a document that basically describes what is going to happen in the 4 phases of the regional reuse project, what the costs are, who's going to be responsible for what, how it's going to be paid for, and the benefits of the regional reuse project such that the Water Management District can obtain that $10 million worth of funding. They have completed a draft of that document and presented it to the Water Management District for their comment, and I expect those comments will come back from the Water Management District probably sometime this week, and then we will get feedback after that from the Planning Council as to whether there's any more information that Holland of our water system or any of other partners need to provide them. But that is a standalone document that Holland has been assisting in completing and will be used to get that money. So that's moving along. Apparently it's moving along in accordance with the timeline that the Water Management District needs it to get the funding. So those are the 2 big activities that are going on right now that just wanted to give you an update on.
Phil, I have one question. Our drop dead date, are we still okay? We still got some cushion there?
Our timeline still shows us right now of being able to meet that late 2022 date. And again, on top of that, not to be too optimistic, but it certainly appears that the I&I is not as bad as it was. And I would have to suspect that a little bit of that is it hadn't rained that much. So, we haven't seen the I&I, but I would suspect that we have fixed some things in the system as well and reduced it, which has probably reduced the critical nature of that timeline. But it is the timeline that we continue to operate on and continue to show as the official timeline for the project.
Thank you.
Is that it?
All
right.
Mr. President, I have a comment that's not engineering related. So.
Okay, Bill, thank you for your report. Does any other board member have anything to bring before the board for the betterment of our water system organization before our adjourn?
I'm sure it will be for the betterment.
Okay.
I have something else after Kevin.
But June 1st, I'm no longer going to be in the service area.
Really?
So, just letting the board know so that if they want me to resign tonight, I will do so they can replace me. My recommendation or my hope would be that the board reach out to Mark Miller, that, he's been on the board, he can go into Fair Point without any learning curve, and that, he was this next highest vote getter in the election too, so we can be looking at it from all directions. So, again, I reached out to Mark, just asked him if there was an opening on the board, if he would be willing to serve. And he said that he would be available to do so if the board decided to go in that direction. So,
Would you like to recommend that Mark Miller replace you as a board member because you're moving out of the franchise district June 1st?
yes, I'll be happy to make that. I don't know if it needs to be a motion.
If you make a motion, I'll second it,
Okay.
then we can vote on it tonight if you'd like, and that way it can be done and we respect your wishes. I would second that motion.
I make a motion that Mark Miller replace me when I'm out, once I'm out of service. Well, actually, replace me tonight, as at the end of this meeting.
And by doing this, the board would be actually,
that section real quick.
Daryl's checking it out, by doing this, the board would actually be appointing, a board member for, open position, and that would fall until the end of this year.
Correct.
Right.
Mark would serve out your term to the end of this year.
Correct.
I believe we did that one before.
We have, that's why I wanted to just bring Graham up to speed on it.
And I believe, and Daryl's going to correct us, or.
Yeah, I just want to read the rule to make sure we're doing it properly.
As much as I'd like to Mr. Smith goes to Washington, I don't have anything bad to say, so I'm gonna slink off in the dark of night.
And one other point of order, and having been there before, in my very first meeting, trying to post something that wasn't on the agenda, do we need to add this item to the agenda and then have a motion in a second? In other words, I just add, and I'm gonna propose that we add to the agenda, tonight's agenda, an item with respect to the replacement of Mr. Lanier.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Yes.
We need to vote on it.
All those in favor say aye.
He said yes, there's no discussion.
If, we have to have a discussion before we vote on it.
To
Okay, voted to the agenda, okay.
Add it to the agenda.
We have a motion to add this to the agenda. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Can we let him off, you got advice?
All right, now, if the office,
Good job, Fred.
let's plan on getting out of here.
I'll send a six-pack to the next meeting.
Mr. President speaking.
If the office of any director becomes vacant by reason of death, resignation, retirement, disqualification, or otherwise acceptance, removal from office, the majority of the remaining directors, though less than a quorum, shall by majority vote choose a successor who shall hold office until the next regular meeting of the board, or next regular meeting of the members of the corporation, at which time the members shall elect a director for the unexpired term. So, if you resign tonight, the board can take action to install Mr. Miller.
I'll leave it in state.
No,
It's not a conflict of interest, sir.
and he will be, until the end of this year, then we will have, two directors for a full 3-year term and one director for a 1-year term. Does anybody want to make a
So
motion?
I make a motion with Kevin moving out of the franchise area that we appoint Mark Miller to his position.
Second. We have a motion and a lot of seconds. Is there any further discussion?
So just to reiterate, it does seem Mark would be a good fit, being that he has the experience. I do like the fact that he's got Fairpoint, so he can slide right into Fairpoint. Makes sense.
And he's really a dedicated board member too. He's
Yeah.
really good at this. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Unnoted, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Now, I make a motion to appoint Mark Miller to the Fairpoint Board to take Kevin's position.
Wasn't Mr. Miller already the pro temp or whatever it was?
It's an alternate, but if we don't approve him at this meeting, we have to do it at the next meeting to go, so he can go to the next Fairpoint
Good
meeting.
point.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, I mean, you've got it to where if they're replacing me, they're replacing all of my committee positions. And so, that way he's taken care of with Fairpoint and personnel.
I could live with it, but the key is that we need him to be able to go and operate
Right.
as a board member as opposed to,
I think what I'd like to do is get him approved for Fairpoint and then see if he wants to be on these other committees.
Okay.
I'll second that motion, if that's.
Second. Kevin, will you be in town for our next Tuesday meeting at Fairpoint?
Yes, I can.
Okay. It's going to be a
Well,
teleconference.
when is it?
Tuesday, the same time it always is, 3
So it's just
o'clock.
like next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday at 3.
Yeah,
It's a
I'm-
teleconference, so you can either come down here, or you can call from the house. I would like to make that motion effective after the Tuesday meeting and have Mark come to the Tuesday meeting as well as Kevin. But since you're already up to speed on what we're doing, I hate to give Mark a learning curve that's like that.
Makes sense.
So, on such short notice, so.
Everybody agree?
I'd amend my motion to what Mr. Lynch discussed.
I second.
Second. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? None noted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I got one
Sorry.
more thing. Okay, so, Mr. President, we've got 4 vehicles we have not sold yet. All right, so we were gonna do an auction, we were gonna do a sealed bid. How do you wanna do this? Do you wanna carry these 4 over to the next board meeting, advertise all 4 and have the auction here?
I think the next board meeting, we're gonna be more open. Probably still have some restrictions, but, it'll be open to the public more so than it has been for the past couple of meetings. I know we had talked about doing a sealed bid process, so maybe tonight, if the board can chime in and say, do you want us to advance the sealed bid process that may get done before the next meeting, or do you want to do a live auction at the next board meeting in June?
My question is, have we advertised any of the vehicles for sale on our website?
Oh, yes, I believe so.
I don't think it has been posted.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay, I thought we had posted because it was supposed to be originally in March.
In March, we approved for the top.
We were
There
going
was
to
a
have that
description, there wasn't a listing, so,
Okay.
I believe that's been taken down. So
Okay.
it can be reposted,
Okay.
obviously.
Well, what's the board's desires here? Do we want to do a sealed bid? or do we
If
want
we're
to
gonna do a sealed bid, and Kevin pointed out, we do a sealed bid, we have to establish a minimum value that the minimum bid is, okay? And the sealed bid would be for 2 weeks, and then Mr. Lynchard and Barbara would open up the sealed bids, and the winner would be notified.
Well, it's my understanding, we just vote on something that we have a blue book value, we have a quote where we just.
Trade in.
Yes, trading
That's what I'm
value, but we
Trading
still have
value
value.
is the minimum.
Because we just had a credit card purchase in blue book value for some reason, so. There's a credit card purchase.
I believe, did we not already set all the minimums on this? We were ready to go, and then we couldn't do this, because we couldn't have
So
people.
that's not
Right.
our.
We could establish a minimum trade-in value. Now, the van, of course, is unable to run because it's blowed up. And there was an estimate from Sandy Sampson Chevrolet on repairs, and that would offset the trade-in value. And Barbara's got documentation to back that up. I can present to Mr. Lynchard the trade-in value of the vehicles on all 4 of them. The board could approve it, we could get it listed, and we could do a sealed bid, and it could be all done in less than 2 weeks.
You know, this is in a category where I think you get values that you're comfortable with, that is, let's get that thing done. We're 2 months behind now, so.
Could I get you, maybe get Will to just shoot an email to me and CC everybody else
Yeah.
with it?
I just
The
need
list
Mark
of trade-in values, that way everybody will see them.
At least
We'll go
it has knowledge.
Unless somebody
I think
says
that's fair.
that's a problem.
Okay.
As long as you have the minimum value, then there's nobody can say he purchased these vehicles under the.
If the board's fine with that, I can get that done tomorrow with the board.
And is this something, can we do this, agree to this tonight so we don't have to do a board action without a meeting before we?
Okay. Now, let me understand, I thought we already approved
We
the
did.
auction anyway. It's just a matter, we're just doing some mechanical housekeeping.
Okay. So
I
we're
think
approved.
you're gonna keep us in the loop, you're gonna make it happen.
As long as we see everybody, as long as the board sees the
Yes,
values.
exactly,
And
yeah.
everybody agrees on those values, then we shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, if you got a problem with the value, then you gotta come up with it.
Somebody coming up with a 2015 truck for $500, and the board doesn't say anything about it, we have a problem.
Which one is that?
Okay, thank you, Darrell, that's the only thing.
Okay,
Yeah, Mr. President, I guess I would just like to recognize Director Lanier's service and thank him for everything that he's been involved in and wish him well in his endeavors. And He's gonna be a South Floridian.
South Florida. Maybe.
I second that, Kevin. Thank you for a wonderful job. Always been a good advisor and a great board member. We really appreciate you picking up Fairpoint one night too. I mean, you did a good job up there.
Anything else?
So, can you ship us a pizza?
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Let's go get real good.
Well, that was more.
Yes.
Short,